Hi folks, how are you doing? Well, first of all, you may notice I'm using a new software, both for the capture and the chessboard. So first of all, my apologies if anything doesn't go as smooth as it should go, if there are some errors or mistakes during this video. And having said that, this video is about the first game that Viktor Laznicka and Richard Rapport played today in what is going to be a match. They're going to play, if I'm not mistaken, in Czech Republic. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to find more information, much information about this tournament. It seems like a little match between these two players, Viktor Laznicka and Richard Rapport. I'm not sure about the time controls because I haven't been able to find anything on the internet out there. So, but it seems the games are rated, are valid for standard FIDE ELO, so I guess they are like slow games or standard games. Anyway, the first game is in the books. It was played today and it was quite an interesting one. We saw a beautiful finish to this game, so let's go ahead and see what they did play. Laznicka was white today. We have Richard Rapport from Hungary with black. 1d4 was played, and Rapport plays d6. He's one of the most creative and imaginative players in the, we can say, elite chess level nowadays. And in these situations, I think most classical 1d4 players play the knight f3 move just to avoid what Rapport is going to play here, the e5 annoying answer. But Laznicka didn't care about that e5 move that much. He plays c4, and e5 was played by Richard Rapport. Well, I think I'm not completely sure, but I think that the end game after d takes and the queen exchange is considered to be harmless for black. It's a position, it's playable of course, but having the fact that black is not going to be able to castle, I think it's not supposed to be very important here, as there are no more queens in the board, so this should be more or less harmless for black. I think more principled is to try to develop pieces and fight for an advantage out of the opening. That was what white does, and plays knight to f3. e4 is very natural here, taking space with the pawn, pushing this knight away. Knight goes to d2, attacking the pawn, and Rapport defends the pawn playing f5, putting away a defense similar, with idea similar to the Dutch defense, I guess, with this f pawn. This e pawn really looks very nice for black, cramping white's position a little. White keeps developing, knight to c3, and Rapport plays c6, controlling b5, controlling d5, I guess willing to push d5 and establish a strong pawn center here with d4, e4, d5, e4, f5. White plays e3, knight f6 is played here, bishop a2, some normal developing moves. Knight a6, really a move you would see in a Dutch sometimes, the knight going to a6. These c6, d6 pawns are, I think, very usual in some kind of Leningrad Dutch, where the pawn is already in g7, so somehow similar to Dutch defense, I would say. Laznicka here plays queen to a4, pinning this pawn, making d5 a little bit more complicated to move, and in general putting some pressure on the queen side here. So Rapport improves his knight on the rim. He puts the knight on c7, controlling both b5 and, very importantly, d5. And b4 is what white plays here. So Viktor Laznicka controls lots of space right now on the queen side with his pawns. That's all the advantage he has. The position is rather close, but this space could be an important factor in the game. a6 is played, b5 I guess is in the air sometimes, and in general black is protecting the b5 square against invasions with the pawn to b5. Laznicka goes back, queen to b3. Finally Rapport gets his d5 move played. Now he has a solid looking pawn structure here, pawn chain in the center from f5 through e4, d5, c6. Seems solid, but on the other hand this white queen could be interestingly placed on this light square diagonal. So interesting position to have. a4, white keeps pushing his queenside pawns, having lots of space there, really getting some queenside space advantage, and obviously willing to keep the initiative there, to keep the focus of the game here, because obviously he has the edge here, with most of his pieces aiming to the queenside, all these pawns giving him space. Bishop to e6, trying to get some control of this light square diagonal. Bishop to b2, bishop e7, completing development, and both players castle here. White castle short, black castle short. After 13 moves we have the opening complete. White has an obvious advantage edge on the queen side, I think, with all this space, some of his pieces there, the rook on the a1, as we're gonna see the other rook is going to join the queenside party. And on the other hand, Rapport has to look for counter chances in other plays, particularly I guess kingside is very interesting for black to look counter chances here in, because almost no pieces of white protecting his king, so this f5 pawn could be interesting to push it forward and create some havoc. Both bishops, similar to some kind of Dutch or King's Indian position, black could try to look for some attacking ideas, brute attacking ideas against the white king in the king side. So b5 was played here. Obviously white tries to make something out of his queenside space advantage. The king goes to h8, getting away from this pin, from this attack, X-rays attack on the light square diagonals from a2 to g8. And Laznicka brings his other rook to b1, having all these pieces and all these open files for his heavy pieces, with all his pawns on the queen side, really trying to get serious initiative and serious advantage on the queen side, as he should try, of course. Now Rapport clarifies a little bit the tension here, the pawn tension. He takes on c4, bishop takes, and puts the knight from c7 to d5. And although pinned against the bishop on e6, this is a good piece, I think. Protected enough with the bishop, the other knight, the pawn on c6. A really well centralized knight which is controlling lots of important squares. And as we're gonna see in a while, this is going to be a very important piece for Richard Rapport. b takes was played. Now Laznicka exchanges his bad bishop on b2, which is hitting a wall, his own pawn on d4. He plays bishop a3, which is immediately exchanged. Queen takes. Now knight g4. Obviously Rapport tries to look for some counterplay here on the queen side. The idea could be to come with the queen to h4, attacking both f2 and h2 with very dangerous attacks. As I said earlier, it is sometimes very dangerous for one of the players to leave his king kind of defenseless, with all the pieces busy attacking on the other side of the board. And here Laznicka plays a move which is a little bit careless. I guess he underestimated the tactics which could arise from this position, and definitely didn't make the most precise move here. He plays h3, and immediately the imaginative GM Richard Rapport from Hungary gets the tactical vision on and sacrifices. Beautiful knight takes f2 move, sacrifices a knight. White takes the piece, and guess what, now we have to sacrifice the second one. Knight takes on e3 as well. Really amazing change of turnaround here. It seemed that white had all the initiative, and all of a sudden Rapport comes with this double knight sacrifice. changing the position completely. Now note that black is attacking with his knight and the bishop, white bishop on c4, so it is a difficult choice here for white. I mean, of course he's up lots of material right now. Black has sacrificed tons of pieces, a couple of pieces right now, but taking the knight on e3 wouldn't be probably the best of decisions. Just to see it, if king takes e3, queen g5 check seems very natural. All this was made to bring the white king to the center and make this entry by the black queen possible. Now after the check, king to e2 for instance, queen takes on g2 with a check, and for instance after king d1 you can just see how bad this king feels right now, walking around. The queen is chasing it. This bishop, pair of passed and connected pawns have lots of potential. Even the rook could be an important piece if the file is open. So really black has all the initiative in this world here. For instance, if bishop could take here, for instance on c4, and if knight takes, well, queen f1 check, double attack against the queen, I mean the rook, the king on d1, and the knight on c4. So really tough position here for white, very complicated, the initiative, making the best out of it. So taking on e3 here after knight takes e3 probably wasn't that great, but already a difficult situation for Viktor Laznicka. He chose to play queen to c5, giving protection to his c4 bishop, which remember was attacked by the knight here, and the bishop on e6. But still, this is a very pleasant and very nice position to have with black. Rapport plays queen to g5, defends his knight, and really threatens lots of tactical complications here against the white king. Tons of material winning or checkmating lines here in the air. For instance, if bishop takes e6, which could be very natural move, the bishop on e6 were hanging, then queen takes g2 check. Couple of alternatives for white here, one of them taking on e3, leading to immediate checkmate with pawn to f4, so good game. And the other one would be here to go with the king to e1, but among other options here, I mean, imagination could be used here widely. Knight to c2 check, just simply forking rook and king, and after king d1, knight takes a1. White just cannot recapture the knight on a1 as queen g1 skewer. Black collects the other rook on the corner. So this wasn't an easy position at all for white. I mean, you can't blame Laznicka here for not finding the defensive moves, because it was very difficult already to keep this hold together. He plays bishop to f1, protecting g2, but now, well, knight to c2 was another possibility, just forking. I mean, double attack here with the knight to the rook, the queen attacking d2, lots of very nice looking move, but he chose rather to go with the knight to d5, attacking the e3 square with the knight and the queen, threatening very deadly checkmating ideas there. The king just moves to e1 to have a escaping square through d1, but now queen g3 check was played, and after only 24 moves having been played, it was all she wrote. Viktor Laznicka resigned, as his king is very miserably placed, and all the tactics are working in Rapport's favor here. For instance, king d1, and now very simply knight takes on c3 with check, forking king and rook on b1. Remember, the queen is defending the knight, the queen cannot take here, and apart from that, these pair of connected passed pawns are coming very dangerously in. The rook will join the party whenever this f file is clarified, so this is completely a broke position for white. Nothing to do, not any kind of active counterplay or something. So really very fortunate and nice beginning for the Hungarian young GM Richard Rapport in this chess match he's playing against Viktor Laznicka in Czech Republic 2014. Thanks for watching.